Well, good morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live. This is the Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. I am Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Sparky, good morning, my friend.
Good
Let
morning.
them know what they're in for.
We'll get into some NBA stories, some NFL. We'll preview tonight's game, which is the Cowboys and Lions, which you can hear right here at KGO Sports Talk. We'll have our buddy Bolt Brady from the Believe Network joining us at 8:30, and he can help you make some money while you can make that money before Christmas. You can call or text in anytime at 661-842-2000. We've already got a couple lining up, so
Fantastic.
we'll
Love
get
to
to
hear that.
those and we'll get to all the headlines. Plus, we got some miscellaneous news and stories to jump in.
Absolutely. We didn't get to the top 30 wrestlers under the age of 30 yesterday. I'm going to try to quiz our guy Sparky to see how many he knows. Plus, all of you, any time during the show, I apologize, 661-842-2000. We'd love to talk to you. There's plenty to talk about in the world of sports. Two of the NBA's most notable stars. Well, one is definitely on the move. One most likely will be on the move here before the trade deadline. We'll get to that here momentarily. But let's start in the world of football as we normally do. We had a contract extension yesterday. Mark Andrews, the Triple Crown owner right now for the Baltimore Ravens. He is the Baltimore Ravens leader in receptions, yards, and touchdowns, and he will be staying with the team for at least the next few seasons as he signs a 3-year extension with the team. Shocked to you, my friend? I mean, we have had our ups and downs with Mark Andrews, obviously, especially if you're a fantasy football player. One year he's the second best tight end in football, and then one year it turns into probably the third or fourth best option on his team. But realistically, I like this move solely because it shows the loyalty that Baltimore has to their players, and you don't walk away from a guy who's your Triple Crown owner right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was just going to say. I mean, with the guy's stats over the years, I mean, it's one of the few teams that actually has some loyalty with their players.
Yep.
I've stayed away from Mark Andrews this year, but I mean, the guy's stats just speak for itself. And I mean, he's a franchise player, and I mean, it's kind of cool for him to finish out. I don't know if the best of Mark Andrews is in the past, but I mean,
He's only 30.
When your quarterback's not really doing well, I mean,
It's true. He's only 30 years old. He's still Lamar's favorite target, I guess. It really just is a toss-up at this point. He really likes Zay Flowers the last couple of years since they've drafted him. But overall, his career numbers, 473 receptions, 5,862 yards with 56 touchdowns in his time with the Baltimore Ravens. Again, Triple Crown owner right now and the only tight end to have that besides Travis Kelce in the Kansas City Chiefs. I like when teams show some loyalty. I like when these players get rewarded for their great play because they deserve to be rewarded at certain points. But I can't deny it was, I believe, last season, if not the season before, where everybody was talking about Mark Andrews not being on the team anymore because of how much he was struggling and how his stats were looking for the past couple seasons. I just think that this is going to be a smarter move than moving on from him. I think they have the two tight ends that they would like to keep because Isaiah is still there as well. And although not as flashy as he was last season, he still looks pretty promising. Baltimore's entire problem has been they've never really figured out a way to synergize the offense and figure out what's best. Are they a running offense? Are they a passing offense? Lamar doesn't, I shouldn't say doesn't. Lamar uses his athleticism to his benefit. But I do believe there is a level there that Lamar Jackson doesn't want to be known as just solely a mobile quarterback. He would like to be known as a quarterback in general. That's why he left, or when he came out of Louisville, I should say, and they wanted to move him to tight end, he was or wide receiver rather, he was so adamant about not wanting to move positions because he knew he could play the quarterback position. But they have yet to really put an offense together where I think that they have used or at least utilized him to his fullest extent. And that includes the wide receivers and tight end group as well. So we'll see if this actually works out for them in the long run. Baltimore currently fighting for that AFC North title against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We talked plenty about the Steelers yesterday. We will not get into that today. We all know where they stand right now. The fan base is very frustrated. Aaron Rodgers is calling out people for not showing up to training or to film sessions and not knowing the hot routes. So Baltimore is sitting in a pretty dang good spot, in my opinion, seeing that they are synergizing themselves at least off the field and showing that if you at least produce for us, we got your back and you're not going anywhere. So I think that's a good positive sign moving forward.
And they're in a position where, I mean, if they can find a way to get that offense going at the
Yes.
perfect time, I mean, they can be dangerous if they can get past Pittsburgh.
Can we finally get an offense, though, in the playoffs that uses Derrick Henry and Lamar to their fullest abilities? I don't know if you need to find a new offensive coordinator. I really don't. But at this point, it's kind of frustrating me because we're running out of time with Derek. That's for dang sure. Let's talk about the Thursday night game real quick, though. The Detroit Lions at home against the red hot Dallas Cowboys. What do you expect to see out of this game, my friend? I mean, I've said it for the last couple of weeks. Outside of Matthew Stafford and Drake May, there's not a lot of players that are playing the quarterback position better than Dak Prescott right now. The offense is humming, and they've won back-to-back games that are pretty impressive against the Eagles and the Chiefs rather. Can they pull off a third one against the Detroit Lions?
I think so. I think Dallas is going to go out pass heavy, and I think Detroit kind of backed up. And Coach Dan Campbell did come out yesterday and say that St. Brown is trying to play, and if he can, he will. But I think missing St. Brown, if he doesn't suit up, I think this is going to be a game where Dak Prescott's going to hit his guys, and I think Dallas is going to run away with this one.
I mean, when you have Dallas's offense running with two wide receiver ones, in my opinion, a running back that's really having a resurgence year, it's hard to say Dallas isn't looking great. And they need to win every single game if they have any chance of getting into the playoffs. Shockingly, they actually have a shot at taking the division title away from the Philadelphia Eagles as well, but that's a long shot. This game, though, is going to be one of those that we're going to really see if these last 2 weeks of beating the Philadelphia Eagles and the Chiefs were legit, or was it just something that the Cowboys kind of like just luckily rolled into? Not to say that Detroit is better than either of the two teams I just mentioned, but it's all about consistency and keeping it going, keeping the win streak alive. I like what the defense has become now that Quinnen is part of it. The run defense is there, and that's exactly what Jerry wanted from the get-go of this entire Micah Parsons trade. So it's working out in that area. The secondary is still skeptical to me, though. Rashawn Bland, Diggs obviously being banged up all year doesn't help, but they haven't looked like the corners that we have seen the last couple seasons, whether that's because they don't have Micah Parsons disrupting the quarterback or not. Jury's still out. But I need to see some sort of consistency from the defensive side. This is a perfect game to do that. Like you just said, Amon-Ra St. Brown most likely will not play. He is their number one pass catcher. So you really have to worry about Jameson Williams and all the deep passes that could be, because Jared Goff is still one of the best deep throwers in the NFL. If you could somehow stall out Jared Goff, make him, uncomfortable, I think you have a great shot at winning this game because the run defense is there. I expect this to be a rough game for Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, I think if I'm the Dallas defensive coordinator, I'm putting 8 in the box. I'm stopping Gibbs and forcing Goff and Jameson and whoever he can find. But I really think if they put up, 30 plus points with Dallas, I don't think Detroit's got the offensive power right now to stay in that game.
The weird thing to me this entire season for Detroit has been the lack of diversity in the run game. We've seen mostly just Jahmyr. There's not a lot of David Montgomery, or at least not a lot of breakout games from David Montgomery. And
yeah, he finally fell into the end zone last week.
Exactly. And I think that is what Dallas is going to need to lean on. Dan Campbell is focusing too much on using Jahmyr. And if you can somehow isolate him and the pass game, I know it's a long shot. I'm not saying it's a for sure thing. But if they can somehow stall out Jahmyr Gibbs' incredible season and keep the pressure on Jared Goff, you have now just created the easiest way to beat the Detroit Lions, not only tonight, but for every team moving forward. Because if Dan Campbell is not willing to lean on the two-back system to keep his guys not only fresh, but really just rolling in general, I don't think Detroit's going to be successful going forward. And right now, much like the Baltimore Ravens, they're fighting for anywhere close to either a playoff spot or that division title, which they are not out of right now. But the last couple division games they've had, they've looked ugly. And really just the inconsistencies that I've highlighted the last 2 weeks. 1 week we see Detroit drop 40 points on someone's head, and the next week they can't score 16. So what Detroit team are we going to get tonight? They lost last week, which means history would say they're due for a win. Maybe they'll drop 40 on the Cowboys' heads and they'll stall out the Cowboys' momentum. But I just don't. When you see this type of inconsistency, it's something to really be worried about, especially if you're a fan hoping this team can make some sort of a run in the playoffs.
Well, but I know I'm going to bounce this one off of Bolt, but our first text, I'll bounce off you too. Dallas with 3 points is the odds. You taking Dallas in those points?
Yeah, if I had to bet right now, I would take Dallas in the points just because of how hot they are. And to be honest, like I just said, inconsistencies with the Lions. Are we going to get the team that can drop 40 or are we going to get the team that could barely drop 16? I don't know. And that's why I say, really, you got to ride the hot hand. And that's Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, which is a weird statement for me to say because normally I wouldn't be talking like this highly of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not a Cowboy fan. I'm sorry. I'm not. But this year, I've liked what has happened, especially with the way it started. Everybody was slamming Jerry Jones for his move off of Micah Parsons, myself included. And it has really started to work out. So I got to say, I'm impressed. I
Yeah.
really am.
I'm not a Dallas fan, but going to that Raider Dallas game and meeting CeeDee Lamb and Pickens, I'm like, okay, I got a little soft spot for him now. But yeah, I think Dallas is going to run away with that. They're playing hot. They're playing good football, and I think Detroit's got some things to work out before the playoffs. And I know we talked a lot of Steelers football yesterday, but I caught the Ben Roethlisberger and James Harrison podcast yesterday as they were talking about all the Tomlin talk and the fans chanting "Fire Tomlin, fire Tomlin." And I wanted to bounce this off you because Ben Roethlisberger said, I love the guy. Maybe it is open house time. Maybe it is time for Tomlin to go, but maybe it's best for him. And he threw out the vacant job over at Penn State for a Tomlin job, and I was like, I didn't think about that, but I don't see Tomlin going to college football.
You heard me yesterday. I said the same thing. The likelihood of him going to college football is small, but the way the college football game is today, it is more like the pros than ever. So maybe I'm wrong in that area as well. But if there was one school that would take him, it would be Penn State. It would make all the sense in the world, obviously, being the longtime Pittsburgh coach, nothing but successful Pittsburgh coach. And Ben has said it in that podcast. He's a fantastic recruiter. He knows what to do to recruit players to come over to play for his team. And that's what always made me laugh is when you hear people say, oh, he doesn't want to handle the recruiting part. You guys really don't think these coaches go and talk to players in the professional level to go get them to play for them? You really don't think they do some sort of recruiting to professionals?
A lot of coaches and players that I've heard from is that's the selling point.
Yes,
is the coach.
Absolutely. So these guys are recruiting, maybe not to the point in which some of these scouts do in college. They don't go to different states all the time and go find somebody at a high school. But these coaches are still recruiting players to come play for them. So the argument that Mike Tomlin doesn't want to recruit people in college is just ridiculous. I don't find that to be logical at all. But I don't know. I still find it very unlikely that Mike goes to a college team. I would love to see him at Penn State. I would. And right now, Penn State is pretty much out of coaching options. I think everybody on their short list has now been snatched up by the team they're currently playing for or some other team. So they're really at wit's end. Maybe they do make a push for Mike Tomlin, especially if he ends up getting fired this season. But again, we're all talking about this as if Pittsburgh is talking about firing him.
Right. I think it's going to be I said the same thing about Harbaugh yesterday. I think whichever team doesn't take that division is probably going to let that coach go.
It's possible. Again, I said it yesterday, all 4 of the coaches in the NFC North could be fired by next season if really they wanted it to be that way. But again, we're talking about the fan base calling for Tomlin. Now, obviously, his former players and James Harrison was not very well. I guess he was positive, but he wasn't very positive about Tomlin in that episode as well because he's coming out saying, I never thought he was a great coach. He's a good coach. I'm like, James, your best years as a pro were with Mike Tomlin as your coach. And the other thing that didn't make sense to me, not to highlight James, but the statement he said was kind of weird. For him to say that great coaches bring out the best of your potential, and then in the next sentence say good coaches do that too. What side of the ball are you on, James? Is
He's
he a
on the
great
fence.
coach or is he a good coach? I don't get it. But again, we're talking about this as if the front office of Pittsburgh is even talking about firing Mike Tomlin. We don't know if that's even in their parameters right now.
I really wasn't expecting much out of Pittsburgh in the first place.
Right.
When they went with the grumpy old men on the roster. And even with that, I mean, I listened to the podcast and I heard Harrison, saying, oh, they're not living up to their potential. But I think the other side, I mean, you set up a team with a bunch of old veterans
And
that
he's gotten the most out of them
and
every single year.
I mean, he's getting at 500 what do you expect from
Exactly.
Pittsburgh with the Aaron Rodgers, a beat up Aaron Rodgers on top of that, and they're not running the usual Pittsburgh Steelers offense. No. I think if they would have opened up that running game, you might have a better Aaron Rodgers at quarterback.
And look at me. I just said earlier we weren't going to get into this, but
yeah,
it is what it is. It's the dance. No, you brought it up earlier, and I think it really stems from this and from what I said yesterday. If you weren't paying attention to the show yesterday, you didn't hear me. This is basically the point I made. When you're a Pittsburgh Steeler and you're 9-8, 12 and whatever, like it doesn't matter. When you're constantly winning and you don't make the Super Bowl, your draft picks are mediocre at the as bad as I want to put it, but the likelihood of a lower half first round draft pick being a superstar is vastly different than the opposite. So constantly winning also has its negatives. And when you had all of these star players that have been built by Pittsburgh, and we just got done talking about how the AFC North teams are loyal to a fault. They keep all of these guys no matter what. I mean, the Steelers have kept the core, 3-4 guys on their defense for the last decade. TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, and Highsmith. I mean, it's always been there. And I think you're absolutely right. For Tomlin to have an aging roster every year, never really adding a superstar to anything, but working with the pieces that he's had, I think that should deserve more credit than people give him. But at the same time, as Ben Roethlisberger said, maybe it's just time. Maybe it's kind of like the Golden State Warriors before they started making their dynasty a thing and brought in Steve Kerr. Maybe Mark Jackson was just the guy to build them.
Yep.
And maybe the next
makeover.
Yeah, and maybe the next guy is the guy that gets him over the hump.
And we talked yesterday, they let go of Darius Slay and immediately was picked up by the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
Big surprise.
And again, the Buffalo is doing everything they can to really booster their secondary and wide receiver help, because I believe they just signed Elijah Moore to the practice squad as well, who was let go from his team not too long ago.
Last week it was Brandon Cooks. Coach McDermott came out yesterday saying he expects Cooks to be a big part of this offense.
We said it yesterday. This is the opportune time for the Buffalo Bills.
They're going to choke.
Oh, I'm sure they will. Kansas City, though, most likely is on their way out of the playoffs. And even if they aren't, being a wild card team and your record right now is 1-5, 1-6 away, doesn't bode well for you. Baltimore have no idea if they're going to make the playoffs. All of these teams that usually are your trip, somewhere down the line, you trip up and you fall to them, they're all out of the way. The Patriots, you know them better than anybody. You could beat the Patriots on a good day. The Denver Broncos, still trying to figure out if the offense is a Sean Payton offense or if they just have a fantastic defense that makes plays. If Buffalo does not make the necessary moves to get themselves into the Super Bowl this year, you're never going to. I'm sorry, you're not. You're going to have to, and we're talking about firing Mike Tomlin. You're going to have to fire your head coach. I'm sure Josh is going to get real fed up with the carousel of coaches that you're going to have the next 4 or 5 years, which is ultimately probably going to lead to him leaving Buffalo for a different team and winning a Super Bowl there. Let's all be honest.
We've all seen it.
Nostradamus here, but that's pretty much where we're headed. Let's take a break real quick. On the other side, we got a whole bunch of NBA news to get to. Giannis Antetokounmpo has absolutely scrubbed all of his social media of everything Bucks based outside of the championships. And Chris Paul was swiftly moved on from as well in the middle of his retirement tour by the Clippers. That was an interesting move as well. But then again, it's the Clippers, and we've talked about them in the negative light since this entire season started. So we'll get to both of those stories plus a whole bunch more on the other side of the break. This is the early bird special right here on KGEO Sports Talk. Welcome back. Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. We're also streaming video live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch every single weekday from 7 to 9, so you can watch us do the show, please. But Whatever platform you choose, we just appreciate you being here, listening to us every single day. Text in 661-842-2000. You can also call into that number if you wish and tell us anything you would like to talk about here before we get to the end of the show. Our guy Bolt Brady will be joining us at 8:30 as well to hopefully help you guys win some money over the weekend. Trust me, if you're not utilizing his picks, you're doing yourself a disservice. I did in Vegas and I won plenty. Trust me, I didn't. I can't lead you guys to, or I can't make you guys drink the water. I can only lead you to it. That's the basis of it. Let's get to the NBA. There's a whole bunch going on, and of course, it all centers around the Clippers being negative. I don't know what's up with the Clippers this year. 6-16 after beating the Hawks last night, but before the game, we all got wind of NBA superstar and retiring point guard Chris Paul being sent home from the team and their entire road trip to Atlanta. And the front office has said he's no longer on the team. He's no longer with us. And this all apparently stems from Chris's entire, I guess, competitive nature is the best way to put it. He's a very, very vocal leader in practices and, keeping everybody accountable, including coaches, front office people, and players. Players aren't exactly happy about that, especially since he's not a starter anymore. He doesn't necessarily light up the stats sheet.
Soft ass young people.
I agree. I agree 100%. And I do have to echo a take from Gilbert Arenas that he said during his show yesterday or the day before. I can't remember which. He partners with Nick Young and some other guys who used to play with Chris. And they vocally said Chris has been doing this since he got to the NBA. This is just who Chris is. But Gilbert brought up a very good point. If this was Chris Paul from a decade ago, where you're top 5 point guard, you're the number one maybe in the entire NBA, this would be coming off differently. This would be coming off as the guy just wants to win, so he takes it seriously. But now as the aging out player, as the guy who really should just be on the bench teaching young guys how to be better in a positive way and being a mentor, but maybe this is his version of being a mentor.
I was going to say, I think that's what he's trying to do.
It's just not meshing well with the team, so much so that apparently him and Ty Lue weren't even on speaking terms for weeks before they let him go.
Weeks.
This entire thing is just weird. Like, this would be different, in my opinion, if this was a team that has never had Chris on the roster. But we're talking about a guy who's been with the Clippers for 6-7 years in the past. They know him very, very well. I am 95% positive this is why him and Blake Griffin didn't get along, because most likely he did the same thing to Blake and Blake didn't like it. So realistically, the Clippers bringing him in, you should have knew this was coming. You should have knew this was going to happen. What did you expect him to just kind of wipe it away because it's his last year?
Like Chris be Chris.
Chris wants to win a ring before he gets out of here. And honestly, I'm going to throw this out right now. Go to the Thunder. Chris Paul, go sign with the Thunder right now for the vet men. Go get yourself a ring. Not a single person in the NBA would falter you for it. Not a single person. I would love to see Chris Paul win a ring. And honestly, I think the team that can help him do that is the Oklahoma City Thunder. But we'll get to that in a second. But this entire thing with the Clippers just sending him home, saying he's no longer on the team. I mean, they're now 6-16, had dropped 5 of the last 6. They don't look good as a basketball team in general. I was kind of hoping Chris Paul coming in here would help them synergize that, but obviously that is not the case. And you got guys like James Harden and Kawhi Leonard playing on this team right now who, let's be honest, I don't think the Clippers want to anger in any way, shape, or form. Otherwise, they're out all of their superstars, because both of those guys have at least proven they got no loyalty to any team.
I don't think anyone does. And I think Harden coming out last night after the game saying, I had nothing to do. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know anything. And I just think it's almost like these teams that try to get the big names and think it's easy. We're just going to plug and play. And I think Chris Paul is, I mean, we all know earlier in his season, he was, the only star on a team, and he was the leader, the outspoken leader. And I think that's just Chris Paul. And thinking of teams, I mean, the Thunder, obviously, with the way they're playing, anybody would be happy to be on the Thunder. But I was looking at the other teams. I'm like, if he was on the Lakers or if he was on the Rockets,
Which
I could see him.
don't count out the Lakers as well.
And
Him
I know
pairing up
he's
with
wanted
LeBron.
to play for the Lakers for years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is final year. I think a perfect fit would be the Lakers. I know they would take another guard. So,
oh my God, I'm just realizing this, but could you imagine if the Lakers sign him and do both Chris Paul and LeBron's retirement tours
together?
Well, I don't know about together. I don't know if LeBron's leaving after this year, although I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
But if LeBron was leaving and retiring after this season, I'm pretty sure he would have announced it before the season even started.
He'll have a Cena tour.
Oh, 100%. But could we have the banana boat retirement team? I mean, at this point, that's essentially what we'd be looking at. This entire thing is just really, really weird. Even if the Clippers want to waive him, they'd have to pay him the $3.6 million he's owed on the contract. On top of that, I mean, if you want to trade him, you have to wait until the 15th of December. That's not a good look either. There are a million different things that the Clippers have to do in order to get this to work. And to be honest with you, a 21-year vet in the league just being sent home randomly because you aren't happy with the way he's trying to help your team get better, or at least lead them. Because I agree with you. I heard this story and I said, soft. Yeah. Like, we're mad because Chris is holding you accountable. Like, really?
My buddy Chris over at MoneyWise sent me a video of Jordan talking about, man, if they had some magic voodoo pill, man, I would love to play basketball now with these young kids.
100%.
And I think that's one of the key points, knowing I have a 16-year-old. I know these young kids, they aren't like how we were trained in sports. I mean, I couldn't imagine seeing my son out there and the coaches we had to deal with growing up.
Coaches at today's game, I need to actually sit down and see this, but it seems to me like accountability and all that just went out the door.
Yeah.
Like
they don't want to get sued. They don't want to get fined.
Well,
they don't want to get fired.
Let's go back to the point I was making earlier about the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. You really going to sit there and do this to them?
And who's their coach?
Yeah, Ty Lue. And it's at the same time, I know Ty Lue is a tough coach.
Yeah.
I know he's a hard-headed coach. But what is going on here that you guys can't be okay with Chris Paul highlighting something, say, nah, I don't think that's right, dude. And I'm sorry, you're not the Thunder. You're not 20-1.
No, you're
6 and 16. So maybe what Chris is saying is true.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put that into perspective. Maybe Chris knows why you're losing. Maybe Chris understands, hey,
trust me, he's
maybe
been down
we
there
should
before.
do this in a different way. But no, because it's an accountability thing, which I'm not even just going to put that on kids. That's everybody today.
Yeah.
Not a single person today can take accountability for what they do. It don't matter if you're 50, don't matter if you're 15. You can't take accountability. I don't need to even know you or hear you to know that. But at the end of the day, this is just a really weird story for the NBA. I hope Chris Paul goes to a team that's at least going to respect him and respect his retirement tour and get him on the court whenever they need to. Shoot, I'd love to see him go back to New Orleans just for the hell of it. I mean, yes, they're not anywhere near a championship caliber team. They just lost Zion for 3 weeks.
That's the only reason I threw the Rockets in there.
The Rockets would be a fantastic fit for him as well. Go play with KD. Go win a ring. I think Chris Paul at this point is the only superstar in the NBA, and I call him a superstar just because of legacy. But he's the only player in the NBA that I think everybody would be completely okay with you going and ring chasing. I genuinely believe that. Everybody else, there's a little bit of a negative stigma to it. But you, as a retiring point guard who we have all loved to see and would all love to see with a big old fat ring on your finger and not end up like one of your best friends, Carmelo Anthony, and not get one of those, I would be completely okay with you going to any team, Lakers, Thunder, Rockets, don't care, just to win a ring. That's just me. But again, the Clippers have to get through the final, cutting off point of getting him off the roster. Either they're going to waive him, do the buyout, or you have to trade him after December 15th, if I'm not mistaken, is the date that they have it locked down, because the NBA has this rule where if you bring on an incoming roster, incoming player to your roster, he is not able to be traded until a certain amount of time. For those of you who don't know how that works. So by December 15th, we could see a trade for Chris Paul, or we could just see them completely buy him out of his contract all in all. And this entire story is just going to go down as a really, really, really weird way to retire one of the best point guards the NBA has ever seen. Let's shift over real quick before we get to our break, though, because the other superstar that's in the limelight right now is Giannis Antetokounmpo, after he went on social media and scrubbed everything that had anything to do with the Milwaukee Bucks. And we all know what that means. And I am tired of players sitting there telling us that it's nothing. I'm just taking stuff down off my social media, man. No, you're not. You are passive aggressively telling everybody in that organization, trade me. And he and his agent did have a meeting with the Milwaukee Bucks, I believe, yesterday to talk about that and the future that they see going forward. Because this entire plan for Giannis this year was to sit there, see what the first 25 games look like for the Bucks. Are they going to be actually a considerable chance at getting into a championship, which we all know now, absolutely not, because they
10 and
can't even make
13.
the play in. So
But then he leaves the game injured 3 minutes into the game last night. So okay.
yeah, I know. And that's what I'm saying. And we all know what that's all about in the NBA these days. So Giannis to Atlanta? Is it Evan Cohen, right? I'm just saying. We're going to be seeing some movement here from the Milwaukee Bucks. Where do you think he's going to end up?
Man, there's so many different options. I mean, before the season started, I was all in. And come on, Chicago. Come on, Chicago. I don't think they have the bandwidth or the money to pay the guy for this
You
year.
guys are surging though right now.
And
I
I think
like
they
what
want to
you're.
go young with the guys
Yeah,
that they have. I mean, I would still be head over heels if we could get him, but I think he's looking at other teams that will fit his type of style. And I
mhm,
think Atlanta is probably in that mix. I think Houston's in that mix. I think there's several teams. I just don't want him. I want this trade to be the final and the
right.
only,
Yeah,
because I am so sick of players like Durant, to jump around. I understand following a chip,
yeah,
but I'm just so sick of a guy like Giannis. One of the key parts of being a Giannis fan is his his ability to stay with one team and be that hometown hero.
right.
And when he brought that championship to Milwaukee, I remember the videos and him going to the drive-through, and he's a
He's
he's a god in Milwaukee.
he
So I mean,
is.
it's going to be sad to see him go.
And it's gonna be weird because when you see these superstars and these cities kind of just embrace them and bring them in as one of their own, you'd never want to see it end. I agree with you. And I honestly never thought I'd see Giannis outside of a Milwaukee Bucks uniform. It just seemed like his personality. He seemed like a one team guy. And honestly, if the team was successful, I think that would be the case still. But right now, he is squandering the best years of his career. The guy is still one of the most prolific players in the NBA. When he's on the court, the Milwaukee Bucks have one of the most prolific offenses in the entire league. When he's off the court, they're bottom half, if not bottom three. Like he is the best player on that team. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I do like the idea of him going to the team, talking to them, saying, "Hey, my future may not be here, but I want to help your future." Because can you imagine the influx of first round draft picks they're about to get for Giannis Antetokounmpo from whoever ends up trading for him? And right now, the only team that I keep hearing cycling the wagons trying to pick him up, the New York Knicks.
That's funny because we had a text said Giannis to the Knicks, book it.
I'm telling you, that's the only team that I hear that everybody is really keeping an eye on is the New York Knicks.
What do you think that would take?
Probably Mikal Bridges and a couple first round draft picks, most likely, if not even more than that. Like
That's what I was thinking.
you're gonna need to find somebody that has a similar contract that can eat up the majority of it. And Michael is probably the most recent one that you can get rid of, unless they decide to move on from Carl. I
Yeah,
mean,
cat.
it really just whichever direction you want to go. Do you feel like the Villanova boys are really meshing right now, and you keep Michael around, you get rid of Cat, or do you think that you
I
could
would.
have two of the best big men in the league side by side with Cat and Giannis?
I don't see that.
It
That would be
really
tough
just
to watch,
depends.
though.
It would be, but at the same time, either one of those moves would make the Knicks the favorite to win the NBA championship, in
Oh
my
yeah.
opinion. It
Can you
really would.
imagine?
And
Man,
that's
damn.
even with the Thunder surging and playing so good right now. That's the only team on the West that I would say could actually take them down because of just how cohesive and the chemistry that they have.
That would be a hell of an NBA Finals.
It really would. Could you imagine Shea against SGA? I mean, Chet taking on Cat or Giannis, depending on which one you keep.
That would be
It'd
intense.
be an incredible Williams having to take on the other, either Mikal Bridges or Giannis, depending if they keep whichever. That would be an incredible series. And I know ESPN would eat that up because you know how much they love their New York based teams. I just Don't want to see it happen as a Cleveland Cavaliers fan because God only knows I don't need another superpower in the East. I'm already happy we don't have to deal with Boston this year. Let's be honest. Let's take a break real quick. We got a couple other stories we can get to before the bottom of the hour. And then next hour, we'll be talking to our guy, Bolt Brady, winning you guys some money right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 1230 a.m., 101.1 FM. Dang, not used to the light. You know, for those of you who haven't been listening the entire time and would love to contribute to the bumper music, we do have a Spotify list that you can go find as well. You can add any song that is clean or has a clean version that we can find.
If not, you're going to get an Instagram.
And I'm just saying. But if you would like to contribute, feel free. Search us out on Spotify. Do you remember what the name of the playlist is? I believe it's just bumper tracks or something of that nature. But it should be connected to our Spotify account. So just search the Early Bird Special. You can find some of our old podcast episodes there. But there will be a playlist there that says bumper music or something of that nature. Feel free to add
Said
to
early bird mix.
There you go. So feel
Got our
free to add
logo.
to. It is going to, and we cycle through that every so often, find some of the best songs and throw them into the
Trust me,
mix.
I wouldn't have been playing Grateful Dead right now if I wasn't for that damn list.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not used to this dang. I'm not used to that. That's very pleasant. Welcome back, though. This is the Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 12:30 a.m., 101.1 FM, where you can hear all of the best sports and sports coverage. Let's run down the games real quick that you'll be hearing this weekend, starting with tonight's game, the Cowboys at the Lions, starting at 4:30 right here on KGEO. And then Saturday, we got a pair of championship college football games for you as the SEC championship gets started at 12:30. That'll be Georgia taking on Alabama. And then at 4:45, you got the Big Ten championship as Ohio State takes on Indiana. That's the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country. That'll start at 4:45. Sunday, we got a we have 3 NFL games. I keep wanting to call it a triple threat. That's not what it's called. I apologize. We got the Steelers and the Ravens starting it out in the morning at 9:30 in the morning. Then you got your Broncos headed to the Raiders to 1:05, and then the Texans at the Chiefs in Arrowhead at 4 o'clock. 4:30 will be the pregame, I believe. And all 3 of those games should be fantastic, to be honest with you. I was saying on our sister station this morning, the Raiders versus the Broncos, although looking like a clear winner, that's usually the game in the NFL that you want to look at and say, I don't know.
Oh, that reminds me. I'm going to.
Uh-oh.
No, I'll wait till Bolt.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was just curious. I was like, what we've got?
Well, someone sent me a picture of a crazy bet that this guy could win $3 million.
Yee.
And I want to bounce it off Bolt.
See, parlays, man. I'm telling you, parlays are how you make your money.
That is,
it's incredible.
So
but if you can hit all of their parlays, I mean, people who go 10-team parlay, you're crazy. Ain't no way. Yeah, that's a hell of a day. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Speaking of that, have you ever used Prize Picks?
No, I have not. I've heard good things.
I heard a commercial on the morning show, and I was like,
Prize Picks,
they have a new
Underdog,
way they can cash out early.
A lot of people are doing that.
Really?
Actually, there are people in Vegas or companies in Vegas that'll let you do that as well. Or the sportsbook guy told me that apparently he had it through the company at the Rio. And apparently if like you hit 2, but you want to cash out early because you're not sure if the third team's going to hit, they will allow you to do that now.
You get a percentage.
Yeah, you just get a percentage of the winnings rather than the full amount that you were obviously going to get. So, but yeah, no, apparently that is a thing. I have never used Prize Picks. I've heard good things.
I'm going to try it.
I might as well, dude. I'm telling you right now, any way that you look, man, sports are sports because it's fun. And as a fan, you are allowed to bet on it. But when everybody else jumps on that bandwagon, that's when it's going to ruin it for everybody. So,
and I'll get Kyle Pitzer on here in a week or so, but he is working on a fantasy wrestling.
Ooh, okay.
Like, what?
No, I have danced around this idea for years. My friends and I have talked about it. I don't know how you can pull it off.
Right. I don't even understand it.
It would be based on wins and I guess championship gains, but at the same time, like
you get like a salary cap and you only is it like because I like when I play the wrestling game, I do the same thing as I'm a GM and I get my roster and blah 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 blah. But I wonder if it was the same type of thing.
If you're smart enough though in predicting these things, you can see where the company is gonna go.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, me and Burdick will kill this.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like the NFL where you could say any given Sunday. Like, no, it's pretty traditional. You know when someone's gonna win or when someone's gonna lose, and they tell you right in front of your face, but no one can ever see it.
Storytelling.
Like, don't get me wrong. I love wrestling, but the ending of Monday Night Raw when we had the Judgment Day holding the titles and Liv in the middle holding both their hands up. Yeah, I'm sorry. I love Liv and Raquel, but they ain't winning those championships in this 5-way scrum. Are you kidding me? We're going to, out of the groupings of Charlotte and Alexa, Rhea and Io, the Kabuki Warriors, Bailey and Lyra, and Raquel and Roxanne. You really think Raquel and Roxanne's going to beat the other 4?
No, but I would put money that Liv is going to get her title.
Oh, 100%. That's a different thing, though. We're not.
And if I was in a fantasy, I would be
taking Liv Morgan right now,
or know she's coming.
Stephanie Vaquer or Tiffany Stratton, you know, when these women that don't lose, like it'd be fun to figure out. Maybe we could help him out in figuring that out. We can get some of the listeners in on this, but
that would be dope.
The point system is what's going to be weird. I don't know exactly how you can format that and make it actually work for a fantasy setting, but we'll figure it out. We'll see what we can pull together. Let's talk a little college ball real quick before we bounce out and get to the 8 o'clock hour. Cause I do want to bounce this off you, my friend. So the college football playoff rankings released once again on Tuesday. Here's how it runs down. Ohio State, number 1, Indiana, number 2, Georgia stays strong at 3, Texas Tech jumps up to 4 after the major upset over the weekend of Texas A&M. Oregon is 5, 6 will be Ole Miss. People still kind of scratching their head on how Oregon jumped over Ole Miss, but Ole Miss is luckily not taking a hit after losing their head coach. Number 7 is now Texas A&M. Number 8 is Oklahoma. 9 is Alabama. 10, Notre Dame. Keep that in your mind because that's pivotal. And the last 2 are going to be going to the conference champions that'll be held over the weekend. Right now, as they sit, Vegas betting odds would be Virginia and Tulane pulling off 11 and 12. That would leave BYU, Vanderbilt, Miami, Texas, Utah, and USC out of the bubble. Now, the only 2 that would really have any chance in hell in making it would be BYU and Miami. The big talking point that I have to highlight, though, and this comes up every single year, this is why I have to highlight once again that the NCAA has to do something about Notre Dame not being in a conference. How the hell is Notre Dame still number 10? And mind you, that's the last team without a conference championship that would be eligible. They're number 10 in the playoff rankings. Miami is number 12. The beginning of the season, Miami whooped that ass. Belt 2. Wasn't even close. I know Notre Dame has had a resurgence. Don't get me wrong. I know Notre Dame has won every game since. I get it. But Notre Dame also has only taken on, I think, 3 ranked opponents and lost to most of them. How is Miami underneath Notre Dame? If we are going to highlight some favoritism here, I'm so fed up with this. This is why Notre Dame must be forced into one of these conferences, whether it's the ACC, the Big Ten, the SEC. I don't care. You have to force them because this is getting ridiculous. The fact that every year it's a conversation of how did Notre Dame get in the playoff, even though they didn't play anybody, 1, and 2, it is a constant problem that someone in the ACC gets cut out because Notre Dame gets some favoritism. This is dumb. I get Notre Dame beat some teams. They beat USC. I am going to sit there and say it. But come on, dude. We're going to sit there and say that Miami, the team that whooped that team's butt at the beginning of the year, is unworthy, but Notre Dame gets in? I find that to be a little weird. That's just personally my opinion.
It is. It's silly. And I still don't understand how they do the rankings.
The college football rankings are usually pretty fair outside of Notre Dame. For some reason, they love Notre Dame.
It seems every year there's some type of drama or well, this team beat this team, but it should be this one. And
in my personal opinion, I'm just sitting there looking at it. It's like if that team beat, if number 12 beat number 10, number 12 should be in the playoff. I'm sorry. That's how it should be. If you played each other and it's that close, the team that won should have that final spot. But of course, the NCAA has this just overwhelming love for the Rudy story, I guess. I don't know what it
doesn't?
is. That's the only piece of Notre Dame that I enjoy, and it's fake. Every bit of it.
No way.
Joe Montana has come out and said, nobody did that for Rudy? No. Story. Look, brother, I am all for teams making their own way. I'm all for teams standing on their own and trying to show up. But if a team doesn't play enough quality teams, if they do not show their worth and they get their butt handed to them early in the season by a team that's right there and is now probably going to get cut out because you don't have a conference, so we have to have some favoritism towards you. That's absolute hogwash, in my opinion. But again, this is just me echoing a lot of the thoughts of some other people as well. I just don't get how Notre Dame is sitting at 10 in the college football playoff ranking right now, and Miami is out. And BYU is out right now as well. Unless they win the championship game this weekend, then they get an automatic bid. That's actually the best case scenario. BYU wins this weekend, takes out Texas Tech. Texas Tech drops down somewhere in the 6 to 9 area, knocks Notre Dame out of the playoff. I'd be ecstatic. But the likelihood of that happening, God only knows. If Texas Tech can pull it off this weekend, God willing, please. Please beat the Mormons. Let's take a break real quick. On the other side, we'll get to some wrestling news. We got our guy Bolt Brady coming in to give you his picks of the week, plus much, much more. This is the Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk. And we are also streaming live, video-wise, on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Come join us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Early Bird Special Hour 2 right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM. I almost said it again. It's getting some used to, man. It really is. We are also streaming video-wise on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find us on all social media platforms as well, including TikTok and Instagram. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that type of good stuff. And like I said earlier, if you would like to contribute to the bumper music that Sparky plays every single morning, just look for us on Spotify. You can find our playlist right there. Add to it. It has to be a clean song, though. It is still radio. We can't play anything with cursing, unfortunately. Trust me, I would prefer it that way as well, but I can't. Let's get to some things before we get to our picks of the day, my friend. I know I get to our picks. Plus, we have plenty of text messages to go to too, but I have to highlight this before we get out of here since we are talking NFL. The Cowboys-Chiefs game on Thanksgiving broke ridiculous records. In fact, I think every Thanksgiving game this year broke some ridiculous viewership records. The Green Bay and Detroit game that started it out averaged 47.7 million people. The Dallas Cowboys versus Kansas City Chiefs, 57.23 million. And the Cincinnati versus Baltimore game, although probably the least watched of the three, 28.4. The Dallas Cowboys game and the Chiefs game is the most watched football game in history of the NFL on television. And now the Cowboys have 4 of the top 5 most watched football games.
That's why they're America's team.
I was just about to say that. I guess that's my reasoning for America's team, because I still have. Who gave them that? I mean, was there like a survey or something that I was unaware of before I was born?
Some Time magazine poll or some crap.
But I mean, 4 out of the 5 top viewed football games in history. That's incredible. Now, Thanksgiving games in general, everybody's sitting down watching football, let's be honest. But this game had a little bit more oomph to it. And for the first time, I think, in this country's history, everybody was cheering for the Cowboys. I don't think that that's ever been done, including Philadelphia fans. There were most likely everybody saying, I hate the Cowboys, but I hate Patrick Mahomes more. And I think that's really what contributed to these incredible numbers. But I think they peaked at about 61 million people. That's incredible. And for anybody to say the NFL has lost viewership or anything for the times they've gone woke, yeah, phenomenal numbers.
I will say I watched all 3 games, but the Black Friday game, I was surprised because I was making plans expecting that game to be in the evening.
Yeah.
And we got to lunch and it was already in the third quarter. Yeah. I'm like, what the hell? This is on?
Yep. And then again, we got Baltimore and Cincinnati that night, which personally I thought was a fun game to watch just solely because of Joe Burrow's return. But we also saw probably one of the worst outings of Lamar Jackson's career. So it's a toss-up. But at this point, I want to highlight that just to say, for people on the internet who say, oh, the NFL is woke, they don't have the same viewership they used to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still king.
Calm down. Should we get to our picks of the week real quick before we get to these text messages?
Do it. We'll start with tonight's game, Dallas at Detroit.
I love Detroit in this game solely because of the inconsistencies I brought up earlier. 1 week they can't score 16. 1 week they score 40. And honestly, they lost last week, so I expect them to bounce back and have a better game this week.
I'm going to go with Dallas. I think they're playing hot. They're playing good football. And I think Detroit without St. Brown is going to be it's going to be tough to keep up with Dallas.
True.
Seattle at Atlanta. I'm going to go with Seattle. Their defense is tough, and you never know though. Atlanta.
I'm going with you in Seattle. I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan, and I'll say it. We suck. We lost to the Jets last week. You know how I feel about Kirk Cousins on this team. I am over it. The defense at least looks fantastic this year, so hopefully we can keep that going into next year. And having the top 2 sack getters as rookies, that's pretty dang good for being a Falcon. We are not used to that at all. So I'm just chalking it up to better luck next year.
And a game that just has to be played, Tennessee at Cleveland.
Everybody hates on this game. Everyone's hating on this game for good reason, but I like the Cleveland Browns. I think this is the game you see Shedeur Sanders have a breakout. And again, Cleveland's defense still top 5 in the NFL, regardless of what their record says. So I like them.
I think Tennessee pulls it out in a close, low-scoring game, but I could flip a coin and pick one.
It's going to be fun to watch Cam Ward against Shedeur Sanders, though. Let's all be fair about that one. Two top-tier rookies. I like what I see from both of them. And to be honest with you, I think these are going to be the guys for their franchise's foreseeable futures.
Well, news out of Cleveland is this might be Shador's final start.
Well, that's fine if that's what Stefanski
And
wants to do. But we've talked about
gonna do that
Stefanski
on
getting
his way
fired
out.
anyway.
Yep, exactly. And Chicago at Green Bay.
Chicago and Green Bay, I like this game, but I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears. They're red hot, and I think they proved to everybody the last couple of weeks they can take on teams that with winning records, and still produce. So I'm going to go with the Bears.
I'm going to go with Green Bay, bouncing back at home, and I think this game is going to it's going to be one of the game of the weeks. I think this one is the one I would have circled this week. I just think Chicago is playing tough, and Green Bay needs this win. So hopefully that is as good game as advertised. Washington at Minnesota.
I am not crazy about this game. Is JJ back? Do we know?
I've
no
not
seen if he is cleared from the concussion protocol. I hope he has. But then again, with the way his season has gone, Kevin might just say, you know what, we're going to keep you on the bench for a couple weeks there, Big Hoss. I'm going to go with the Commanders.
Yeah, me too. This is just
because even with Marcus Mariota at quarterback or Jaden Daniels, I think you're going to be fine.
Yep, and Miami at the Jets.
I don't like the Jets. I've never liked the Jets. I'm going with Miami, but then again, Tyrod Taylor has looked fantastic. So
sometimes Miami Dolphins show up. Hopefully Tua has a better game, and if he does, I think Miami should have this one.
Hopefully.
New Orleans at Tampa.
Tampa Bay, never go with New Orleans. I know New Orleans is trying, but let's be honest, this is probably the worst football team in the NFL, and that's including the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tampa just because we got the Colts at Jacksonville.
I don't want to pick Jacksonville in this game, but I'm going to. They are really figuring it out offensively. I think Trevor is starting to hit a little bit of a stride with this new offense with Cohen. And until Daniel Jones is fully healed, which isn't going to happen this season with that fracture, they're not going to look like the same team. So I'm going to go with Jacksonville.
Yeah, and I like Jacksonville's defense. I do not like the offense. And I think with Daniel Jones' injury, unless they can feed Jonathan Taylor,
that's what I'm thinking,
and he can run this defense, but that Jacksonville defense is tough. I'm going to go with Jacksonville as well.
A stat for people to hold it or keep in your mind: Jacksonville has not let a running back have over 70 yards all season long. That's pretty impressive. So Jonathan's got an uphill battle in front of him.
Then we get a big game with Pittsburgh at Baltimore.
This is going to be an interesting one, obviously, because the AFC North is on the line, but I think this is going to be the one where Mike Tomlin really wins back the fan base or loses it forever. And honestly, I don't know if Pittsburgh has what it takes to take on this Baltimore team, so I'm going to go with the Ravens.
I will go on a reach. I will go with Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers in a close, tough game. Pittsburgh, Baltimore. I'm going Pittsburgh.
Which you can hear right here on KGEO Sports Talk at 9:30 in the morning on Sunday.
And then the following game right here on KGEO Sports Talk, Denver at the Las Vegas Raiders.
I've said it once, man. This is one of those games. I'm going to take Denver. I'm still taking Denver, but I swear we're going to be coming in on Monday and I'm going to be saying, gosh, dang it, I knew it. This is one of those games where the Raiders somehow figure it out.
I do not think so. I think Denver smashes them, and hopefully this will be the last time we see Geno as a starting quarterback.
It's possible.
Cincinnati at Buffalo. Now this one is tough.
This one's tricky because both teams desperate for a playoff berth. I think Buffalo needs it more, even though obviously Cincinnati's record is lower. I'm going to go with Josh Allen and Buffalo just because of that specific spot. They're trying everything they can to hold on to a wild card spot. And Cincinnati's defense still is just too skeptical to me. I mean, you're bottom 5 in almost every statistical category, and it hasn't looked any better even with Joe Burrow coming back. So
I'm going Joe Burrow and the Bengals, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. So don't start either one of those defenses. And if you have Cincinnati's defense, you've got deeper issues. We've got the LA Rams at the Arizona Cardinals. This one is another tough one.
Another game that I really could see going either way, especially after what we saw from the Rams last week against the Cardinals. But I am going to go with LA. I think that they figure out a way to bounce back, and they're not going to look embarrassed 2 weeks in a row taking on Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, I think the Rams pull it out. I think Stafford bounces back and has a big game, and I think Arizona will make it close, but I don't think they have the
I have to
full
highlight
power.
for the Rams though, if that offense is going to get going in any way, shape, and form, you're going to need Kyron Williams, man. Although the offense in the pass game has looked fantastic with Devontae holding it down, I just think you need to figure out a way to get Kyron back to what he looked like last year. If you can, that's a Super Bowl bound team, in my opinion.
That's what I do. I'd feed Kyron
100%.
all day.
100%.
And the Sunday night game, which you can also hear right here at KGO Sports Talk, Houston at the Kansas City Chiefs.
This is going to be a tough one as well, but I'm going to go with Kansas City because at home, they still look like Kansas City. Away from home, they don't look like the same team. But my luck, Houston's defense is going to come out here and make it a living hell for Patrick.
And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think Houston's defense is playing hell of a football team, and I don't think Kansas City's got it. I think Houston's going to smoke them.
It's entirely possible. Houston is still trying to figure it out on offense. CJ hasn't had a very good year in general, but I think the injuries can really be chalked up to all of that. I just don't believe in their ability to really show up on the road right now. I feel like it's really the same way I feel about the Kansas City Chiefs. Both of these teams at home look fantastic, but when they go on the road, it's just not the same football team.
And then Monday night, the Philadelphia Eagles at the LA Chargers, and Herbert is supposed to start.
Yep.
He practiced yesterday after having surgery on Monday, but both teams need a win. Which one do you think is going to be able to pull this one out?
Herbert may be playing, but one bad tackle from Jalen Carter, and it is OVA. So I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles in this one. Plus, they desperately need to figure it out. I know if anybody is, if any fan base is fed up with what they've seen so far, it is not only the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it's also their neighbors over there in Philadelphia. They don't like what Nick Sirianni has been doing. They don't like what the offensive coordinator has been doing. And to be honest with you, it's really starting to show on the field that they aren't the same football team that won the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, I think Philadelphia pulls it out. I need a big game out of Jalen, and every time I've needed it, he doesn't show up. So we'll see. I think Hampton is supposed to be back. I just can't trust with Herbert and his injury.
This Charger defense, though, has really surprised me this season. They've done a lot of different things to get to the quarterback. Khalil Mack still looks like he's in the peak of his entire career. I really wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers pull out a win on Monday night against the Philadelphia Eagles, especially with what the Eagles have been this entire season. But that injury to the left-handed Justin is going to factor in at some point. And do you trust Trey Lance, who is the backup in LA, to come in and be that guy? I don't either. So my likelihood is going to stick with the Philadelphia Eagles. We got any text messages we can go down here real quick?
We do. We've got a handful of fantasy lineup questions.
Fantastic.
Starting with a tight end position, Evan Ingram versus the Raiders, or do I go with Dallas Goedert against the Chargers?
To be honest with you, I would go with Dallas Goedert. I like what he ends up doing, or what he produces and what he brings to the offense of Philadelphia. He is still one of Jalen's favorite targets throughout the game. And I am unimpressed with what I have seen from Evan Ingram this entire season with the Denver Broncos. I came in thinking he was going to be one of those top 10 tight ends we'd be talking about in the fantasy football realm. He's kind of been pretty mid, so I'm going to go with Goedert on this one.
Yeah, I would like to say Goedert, plus it's a primetime game. But the more I think about it, I'm thinking Evan Ingram should have a good game, especially with the way the Broncos offense. And if Max Crosby has anything to do with it, I'm sure Knicks will be feeding Ingram. But who knows with these tight ends? Either
Knicks
one of them
loves his receivers, though. Like, you notice he's been throwing to Sutton and Mims and Franklin all day long, but Evan just for some reason gets lost out there sometimes.
The next one is DJ Moore against the Packers or Justin Jefferson against Washington.
Oh, actually, I stutter at that, but now that I think about it, no, that's an absolutely fair question.
It's tough to start him. I have
honestly,
him too.
It really is tough to start him. And even if JJ came back, it wouldn't be a for sure thing. So I would probably say go with DJ. I really would. I think DJ, although I'm not a huge fan of DJ Moore in Chicago, or at least I don't think he's the number one choice, but At this point with the Minnesota Vikings and what they have at quarterback, it's hard to say that you can really trust any of their receivers to produce too. So, and
I'm in the same boat. I've got Justin Jefferson. I haven't started him the last 2 weeks, and then even with the Chicago receivers, I've got Rome, and I haven't started him the last couple of weeks because his stats have gone down. But
mm,
it seems when Rome doesn't, DJ Moore does. So I would think
well,
you have a better option with DJ.
Ben Johnson does love his run game. And as we saw last week, that's literally all they needed to win a football game with 250 yards on the ground between two guys. So maybe we see that again this week, and both of these guys don't end up scoring a lot of points.
This one is a quarterback. Do I go with Stafford against Arizona or Josh Allen against Cincinnati? And this is a tough one.
My heart says Josh. It really does. The Cincinnati defense is awful. It is terrible. But at the same time, Josh hasn't looked like Josh in fantasy football terms this year. He has been solid in some games, but he's fallen off tremendously in games where you would think that he would have fantastic numbers. My heart says Josh, so I'll tell you Josh.
And see,
But
I would go with Stafford, and then I
I know
just
that doesn't.
the way Cook is running,
Yeah,
I think they're gonna. I mean, it's gonna be a high scoring game. I think Buffalo puts up a lot of points, so that might benefit going with Josh Allen. I think either way, you're gonna be good.
maybe Brandon Cooks comes in and ends up being that receiver he's desperately needed to. But dude, I don't know.
I wouldn't put money on it.
You're right to pick Stafford though, because he's playing out of his mind right now. Like my head says Stafford, but my heart says Josh. It really does. That's why I'm struggling. So I would probably listen to Sparky on this
And then we get two defensive questions. One is, do I go with Dallas or do I go with the Lions?
one. Probably honestly go with Dallas. I think that Detroit's the more banged up team tonight, and Dallas's offense has been sizzling since the beginning of the season. I mean, Pickens has been a top wide receiver in yards. Williams is a top running back, at least in the top 10 in yards as well. Dak Prescott is Dak Prescott. So if either of these offenses are more likely to go off, personally, I think it would be Dallas's.
And then the last one, do I go with Denver's defense against the Raiders or Seattle against the Falcons?
Probably Seattle against the Falcons, if I'm being completely
I mean, you
honest with you.
can't bench Seattle after they gave you 40 points
Yeah.
last week.
And to be honest, you've heard me on this show a million times over. I don't like Kirk Cousins. I don't trust Kirk Cousins. I didn't trust Kirk Cousins last season either. It's
If you have
just,
both of those defenses, I think you're going to be good.
yeah, I think you will too. And honestly, I don't know if Atlanta gets Drake back this week either. I'm pretty sure he is still out with an injury. So Kirk Cousins is going to be dealing with, well, nothing to throw to, because I love Darrell Mooney, but he has not been the same receiver either this season. I don't know what you're going to get from Atlanta's offense outside of Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier every single week. So,
And I have to throw out, I should have started it with this comment, but I just got to throw in a rest in peace and prayers and to all the family over with Eldon Campbell, one of my favorite forward centers when I was growing up. I wasn't a Laker fan, but I loved Nick Van Exel. I loved Magic, and I loved Eldon Campbell, and he recently passed, and I just forgot to mention it.
If you are a Campbell fan, I forgot to mention that yesterday as well, but I didn't realize this until yesterday. Our very own Ralph Bailey at our sister station of Kern Radio knows him very well and grew up with him. So I'm sure he will be sharing some stories today. If you are wondering or would like to hear some, go to our sister station of Kern Radio at 3 p.m., 3 to 6 on the Ralph Bailey Show. You'll hear myself as well as I produce the show. But he will most likely be talking about this in Mr. Campbell's life as a basketball player, because he did know him growing up. So I can't wait to personally hear these stories. Ralph's got some great ones.
I know we've got some miscellaneous stories, and one of them I wanted to bounce off you because I know we were texting about it last night, but the whole deal with Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I knew you were going to bring this up because there are two stories in the world of the UFC that I was hoping to get to today. Conor McGregor being one of them, because his sexual assault suit from 2023 has officially been dropped.
That's the NBA Finals one?
Yes, that's the one where the lady claimed that he followed her into the bathroom and all of that type of hoopla. Again, these stories come out so prevalently. This is why I like to wait until we get the full, oomph of it. Not to mention, when you're watching these things unfold, the most inaccurate information is always the first story you hear. It's always the initial story. It is never fully accurate. There's always some pieces that are missing. So this whole Conor McGregor thing, I know a lot of people were sitting there, oh, he's good for the crime. Of course, he would be doing this type of thing in Miami. I'm happy that he's absolved of it. If I'm being completely honest with you, I don't think the UFC needs any more of this, especially centered around their star athletes every single time. But this type of stuff needs to be personally, this is a personal thing. Okay. But I've always thought these kind of allegations should come with teeth going the opposite direction. If you're somebody that's going to go out and claim that someone assaulted you, especially sexually, and it was false, what? We can't allow this. Like, Connor's career is already over, so it's different. But if this was some 19 to 20-year-old UFC fighter on the up and he got busted for sexual assault, or a story came out where he sexually assaulted somebody and his career's over, he never gets the same look again. UFC drops him. Dana never wants to talk to him again. But comes out a couple years later that it wasn't true, but nothing ever comes of it. And then we was like, oh, okay, the story wasn't true. We're all just going to go about our lives. No, I'm sorry.
Like, it didn't happen, and he didn't have to catch any crap for it.
Right. And it's like, come on, man. Like, I get defamation suits are a thing, and he is more than likely going to file one against this woman, or at least I would if I was him. But this type of stuff always bugs me. It really does. That's why I always want to wait until I get the full story. And on top of everything, if it's like this, where Connor gets out and it ends up being untrue, or they drop the case or whatever, because that's the first thing I think of when you just drop the case out of nowhere, is that it wasn't true. And you're not going to be seen as fact. It's not going to be seen that way. Or it's going to be seen that way in court. So I don't know exactly what fully happened here, but the entire thing, I'm glad it's all over with. I'm glad it's all swept under the rug. I hope he never has this happen to him again in later parts of his years. But this is also a guy that's very outspoken in a very negative way in the media. So anything that has anything to do with something bad is going to be immediately attached to him, even though this dude's been with the same woman since before he was a UFC fighter. Let's get out of the way too. But the entire thing is just so weird. I hate when these stories come out about athletes. I really do. The other one that I wanted to highlight that I want to get your thoughts on too, my friend, Tom Aspinall is still dealing with that poke in the eye and actually has to go get surgery for it. And he has now come out and said he's disappointed in Dana for essentially not backing him a little bit more and throwing that guy out, who is now essentially well known for being a somewhat dirty fighter. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, I know he's not fully blaming Dana, but he is disappointed Dana hasn't put any more teeth into penalizing his opponent. But now if he might need eye surgery to get full vision back in it, I mean, that's career threatening. And you're not stepping up and backing who is potentially your top star right now in Tom Aspinall. That's kind of weird.
It is a tough situation, and I would think Dana probably ends up doing something more about this. I just, man, those eye injuries, and if he gets full vision back on top of, more recovery time, this is definitely going to hurt the rest of his career, and people are always going to remember, oh, that's the guy with the eye injury. And I personally think Dana ends up stepping up and doing more, but it's just a sticky situation.
And again, he's disappointed as well that Dana didn't step in and stop the fight initially and all this other stuff that goes into it. He also states that him and Dana don't talk like that anyway, so it's not like they have a super close relationship between the two of them. But I kind of get his point. Like, I now have to go get eye surgery, potentially. It's still up in the air, but it's potential that he has to go get eye surgery to get this fixed. That means that was a heck of a gouge out of his eye. I mean, and this is one of your top stars. You can't have that happen, man. I know TKO is all about, keeping their athletes in whatever sport they're in and keeping them healthy and whatnot. But this type of stuff can't be just allowed. And honestly, for Dana not to really step in and say, whoa, 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 why are we continuing the fight that night, let alone more later, not really stepping up to put a stop to this type of thing. I don't know if Dana is just chalking this up to unhappy circumstance, like it just kind of happened, But I get it. I get why Tom Aspinall is a little bit upset by this. I get why he's a little frustrated with the entire situation because you're now looking at months out of his career, if not potentially career threatening. Because if you can't see in a fight, you're not going to be a very good fighter. Let's be honest. So we'll see how all this wraps up here with the weeks to come. Hopefully, he doesn't fully need surgery. We see Tom Aspinall back in an octagon very, very soon because he is one of the best heavyweights. And I'm still holding out hope, still praying that John Jones grows a pair and we see an actual fight between him and Tom Aspinall. And we can finally put to bed all of these conversations about who's the better fighter, Tom or John. Personally, I'm always going to say it's John Jones. Always going to say it's John Jones. But until it's actually seen, I can't say that for certain. Let's take a break real quick. On the other side, we will talk to our guy Bolt Brady from Bolt Brady and his bro, give you his picks of the week, hopefully help you guys make some money in the world of the NCAA and the NFL as championship weekend is upon us in college football, and the NFL playoffs are right around the corner as well. This is the early bird special right here on KGEO Sports Talk. Welcome back. Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 12:30 AM. It's time to talk to our guy, Bolt Brady. Bolt Brady is bro at the Believe Network. You guys win some money on this NFL weekend, plus championship weekend for the NCAA. Sir, how are you?
What's happening, fellas?
Oh, not a whole ton. Just really excited this weekend, obviously, for championship weekend. Any specific games you're looking forward to?
Well, I mean, of course, we've got the big daddies between Georgia and Bama and Indiana and Ohio State.
Naturally.
Yeah, those are going to be fun to watch. I think what's interesting about both of those is that they're both can kind of be considered home games, right? Because Georgia's playing in Mercedes-Benz and Indiana's playing in Indiana as well. So because of those reasons, I like both those teams.
Do you really? Interesting. Okay. And do you agree with me? Because I've been running with this, but Ohio State, Indiana, that's going to be the college football final, right?
I mean, both those teams have just been waxing whoever they put in front of them.
This is just going to be a preview of what's to come here in about 2 months. I mean, I'm excited regardless because Ryan Day against Coach Cignetti is going to be fantastic, but the entire lineup, actually, let me get your thoughts on this as well, since I had brought it up earlier. Notre Dame sneaking in at 10 right now, even though Miami is right on their tail at 12. Personally, I'm one of those people that say, if you beat that team, you should be in the playoff over them. But how do you feel about Miami being left out of all of this?
Well, that does make sense. The only problem with Miami, they had such that bad loss against SMU.
True.
But Notre Dame's strength of schedule is just not very good.
No.
And
so
it
never is.
Right? It's tough, but they've got so many fans around the nation that I'm sure that gets factored into the equation.
That's fair, but at the same time, I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority with all this, but I think they should be forced into a conference. It seems like every single year it comes down to Notre Dame didn't play anybody, but somehow got in. And when you really boil down to who these other guys are playing against every single week, it just doesn't seem fair.
I agree. And what I'm really bummed about is a team like Vanderbilt.
Yes. Diego doesn't get in, and that's ridiculous to me as well. I mean, BYU still has a slight chance if they could beat Texas Tech this weekend, but it just doesn't sit well with me that a team that's not in a conference gets so much favoritism from this entire just NCAA board is ridiculous. But I know you gave us your thoughts on the Big Ten and the SEC, but are you looking at maybe the American Championship against Texas or North Texas and Tulane and all these other ones as well?
Not really. No, I am looking at Thursday night game. We'll try to keep it rolling with the Thursday night games. You know, this over-under is 54.5, and to put that in perspective, only 2% of games get that high. So, you know, you have 272 games in an NFL season. So that means only like 6 to 7 games a year over-under this high. And Detroit's banged up. Amon St. Brown might not even play. You need to have all your players humming to get to this number. So for that reason, I like the under here.
You know, that's a good pick in my opinion, especially with the injuries on the Detroit side. Do you think Detroit ends up pulling off a win still, though? Or do you think Dallas keeps this red hot streak of theirs going?
I would lean with Detroit here. I mean, they're very tough at home, and Goff plays so much better in the dome that they're tough to beat there. I'd lean Detroit for sure.
I didn't think about that. And we had a listener that texted in before you came on, was asking the same thing, if he should take Dallas in the 3 points.
Yeah, I would lean with Detroit there. I know Dallas has been playing well, but they've had a tough schedule the last few weeks, and Detroit coming off the loss, I think they're going to be pretty fired up at home tonight.
That's a good point.
I was not expecting that.
No, I wasn't. Any other picks you got for us in the NFL?
Well, I heard you guys talking a little bit earlier about the Raiders and the Broncos.
I'm telling you, it's a weird game, Bolt. I'm telling you.
It is a weird game, and people probably thought it was weird earlier in the season when we took the Raiders on the road against the Broncos, and the score was only 10-7, and the Raiders covered for us. Let's look for the Raiders to cover again. I know they're terrible, but as we talked about earlier in the year, for whatever reason, when they play the Broncos,
something happens. There's a little switch that goes on. I agree with you 100%.
It's the same thing when they play Kansas City, but Bolt is throwing bolts today, man. Jeez.
7.5, though, that seems pretty, like, I thought that was going to be higher. I'm not going to lie to you. We're looking at a 10-2 team taking on a 2-10 team, and we're not getting a double-digit spread. That's pretty interesting for Vegas.
Right. Right. Well, you know what? And when that happens, you kind of have to look at it like, hey, what's going on here? And I think the books probably know the historical, history between these two teams as well.
No, absolutely. I'm telling you, I was just saying I'm predicting Monday we're going to be coming in here talking about how the Raiders somehow pulled off a win. I don't know why.
No way.
It's just a weird thing.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
What are your thoughts on maybe the Sunday night game between the Texans and the Chiefs, and Monday night with the Eagles and the Chargers?
Well, the Chiefs, I mean, we've been waiting for them to flip the switch all season, and it hasn't really happened. But I got to lean with them here. I mean, they're at home. They're so tough to beat at Arrowhead. I like the Chiefs there if you have to pick a team. And then the second game was the Eagles-Chargers.
Yes, sir.
Wow, the Eagles, they've got so much talent. They're -2.5. I would lean with them just because the Chargers are so banged up.
That's what I was thinking. With Justin's hand being banged up the way it is, one bad hit from Jalen Carter or anybody in that front seven, and he's on the sideline. So I can't see this working out well for them.
I don't know, man. It's not his throwing hand. So, I mean, and the Eagles are so hit and miss. I personally would stay away from that game just because it is just a toss-up. But I had two games I wanted to bounce off you, Bolt. The first one is this Bengals-Bills game.
Wow, that's an interesting game there. I mean, the Bengals obviously played great last week with Joe. I think the team got fired up that their captain was back. But I would have to go with the Bills here. I love Joe, but the Bills are so tough at home. Josh Allen usually fires up the troops.
I'm not going to lie to you. If Buffalo pulls off a win this weekend, I may show up on Monday in the Josh Allen jersey. I may just do it.
I'm just saying the team in Florida did it, so I'm just saying
it's entirely possible.
But the other game I wanted to bounce off you was the Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens.
Wow.
Exactly.
Another team I'm a little disappointed in. I thought the Steelers, the season's not over with yet, but I thought because of their special teams and their defense every year that they would have a solid team with Aaron, but the defense has been so bad. I mean, last week they gave up the most rushing yards that they've given up in the last 50 years.
And again,
so, these games are usually pretty tight, and 6 points is a lot of points in these games typically, but I'd have to leave with the Ravens here just because the Steelers aren't living up to it.
No, they're old, they're slow, and to be honest with you, when you're taking on someone like Lamar Jackson, you can't allow that. I feel like they're going to get run they're going to get run out of the gym essentially this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And if they had problems with Buffalo's run game, get ready for Lamar and Derek, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
We did have a listener as a diehard Rams fan and said, after last week and the Rams losing, should he touch the Rams in the Arizona game?
Well, I wouldn't let one game, scare you away. That just happens in the NFL, obviously, right? But 8 points on the road in a conference game is a lot of points. So that might be one that he wants to stay away from, or she.
Yeah, I totally agree with that one.
Any other picks you got for us before we let you go?
Last one, guys. Green Bay and the Bears are going to be playing each other 2 out of the next 3 weeks. This one, Green Bay's at home. I actually like Green Bay minus the 6.5. And then let's talk about the Bears maybe a couple weeks from now.
Absolutely. I mean, the Bakersfield boys got to pull something out of his hat right now because they are falling just as quickly as the Chiefs, in my opinion, out of this playoff race. It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird. I'm sorry. I don't believe in the Packers very much right now, man. They've showed me that they play up to some and play down to others, and I don't like that.
It's so surprising. A lot of teams do that, man.
It is. It's very weird. But, Bolt, thank you so much for your time, my friend. We really appreciate it, and we will talk to you next week.
Take care, guys.
Thank you, sir. Let's take a break real quick. On the other side, we will finally get to this 30 top wrestlers under the age of 30 list, and I will quiz our guy Sparky to see how many he knows. This is the Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk. Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. We are also streaming video every single day from 7 to 9 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Find us on all social media platforms as well, including TikTok, Instagram, all that type of good stuff. Just look up the Early Bird Special, like, share, subscribe, all that type of stuff.
Well, before we get to Daily Dave, something I forgot to bring up with Bolt.
What's that now?
So a buddy of mine, he gambles a lot,
Naturally.
and he found this story where a guy took a bet at BetMGM and put 50 grand on Chicago to win the Super Bowl. And at the time, they were 66 to 1 odds. And now they've gone down to 33 to 1. But if he puts this, I mean, I don't have an extra 50 grand to just put on a random bet, especially one like that.
Is this Seth Rollins?
No, it's some guy named Ben Falls.
Speaking of which,
Guess how much money he would make?
Okay, hold on. 66 to 1, 50 grand, you said.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not nearly good enough at math for this, but $3 bill?
3.3 mil.
3 mil. Okay.
3.3 million.
A couple digits.
A couple zeros.
No, that's a hell of a bet, man. I'm telling you, look, I'm one of those people too, though, where I will go to Vegas. I'll put $50 down in the Falcons to win the Super Bowl, not expecting to actually win the bet. I mean, hey, it's a nice chunk of change. You know, if your team wins, it's a nice thing to have at the end of the season, just like your fantasy football winnings. But dang, I mean, 50 grand, like you said, I don't exactly have 50 grand just to throw down willy nilly like that. But
I do the same. I would put a 50 or $100 on, but I'd do the over and under on the win record. I'm not ballsy enough to do the Super Bowl.
Drake will do it every single year on every big event and post it. And I always laugh because anytime Drake puts money down on you, you can pretty much go and guarantee you're going to lose that game. It's like, Ralph, it's crazy. If there are two mushes in the world, it's Ralph Bailey and Aubrey. I swear. I don't know, or Audrey, or whatever his first name actually is. I can't remember.
It's not Drake?
It's not Drake, no. Real quick, let's get to Daily Dave before we get to this 30 best pro wrestler list, which I'm going to cheat for you, Spark, because I'm going to say right now you won't get 16 through 30. But that's because I wouldn't get 16 through 30.
I wrote down 8 names. So
there you go. We'll get them in there. Dave, how are you, sir?
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I hope you all had a good Thanksgiving holiday.
It was fantastic. Thank you. I hope you had one as well.
I did. I just want to offer my condolences in advance to all the Dallas Cowboy fans tonight. I have so many friends. And here's my thinking. Dallas, they haven't proved anything yet. You know, they've been close every year, and I love that. When he runs, they win. But this Detroit team, they've got a proven record, and they've got something to prove tonight.
True.
And I think they're going to come out with their guns firing, and
okay,
that's just my opinion. I feel that Detroit, and I like both teams. I like Dak when he takes 2 or 3 runs out of the pocket. That opens up the whole ball game.
It really
does. You
does.
know what I'm saying?
No, he's elusive.
It really does.
He is.
But
he's underratedly athletic. I will say that, but he's not super fast, and they don't want him running just solely because of the injury part of it all. But real quick, Dave, I want to challenge your thought of if Dallas hasn't proven anything, I would argue Detroit hasn't proven anything either. Neither of these teams have gone to a Super Bowl. Neither of these teams have made it very far in a playoff run, and it's the same rosters both ways. I agree that Detroit, I apologize, is a more proven team in sense of we know what we get out of them every single year now. But I would argue that if we're going to sit there and say Dallas hasn't proven anything, by all accords, Detroit hasn't proved anything either.
You make a good point there. Dallas does have the rings with the Aikman era,
right,
and the great plays, but Detroit never has. I mean, they had the great running back with Barry.
Well,
but
and maybe that's why the pedestal's different for both teams, because there is a good portion of the country that has seen success for Dallas, whereas we've never seen success for Detroit. But I just don't think it's fair to necessarily say one team is a proven team and the other one isn't.
And I think Dallas is playing great football, considering
2 Super Bowl champions.
Considering they got rid of their number 1 guy, Micah Parsons, and they're playing with a couple first-round picks. I mean, this team, it could be dangerous in the next couple of years.
I agree.
Well, you make a good point there. I've always thought about the understudies that are waiting on the sidelines. A guy gets hurt or gets nicked up, and they put him in. All of a sudden, it's like, man, you were the diamond in the rough.
Right.
How can
Next man up.
And next man up attitude. I've always had that. I've always told my kids when they play ball, you be like Lou Gehrig. If you're not a starter, when they put you in there, let the coach go, man, I should have had you in there all along.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, just in my opinion, in the last few years, Detroit has been very solid. That I'm going to knock your kneecaps or bite your kneecaps
Right.
mentality.
Love that
coach
mentality.
brings. But I like the new mentality of this coach. His clock management is good. He runs some good plays. They run a few trickerations, So I like Dallas now more than ever, but I'm just going with the last few years of Detroit and what their proven record has been.
100%.
That's why I'm
No. I get your point, and you're not wrong to have it, Dave, whatsoever. I'm just saying it's not necessarily fair to put both in there. And I agree with you. I actually like Dallas's new head coach. If there's one thing that he has done well this entire season is he's not coached himself out of a game. Usually we hear a lot of these newer coaches make small mistakes like the turn or the timeouts usage or something like that. We haven't heard that from Dallas at all this season. So I like what we've seen. We appreciate your call, Dave. We really do. We got to get to this last story, though, before we get out of here. And I got to test our guy Sparky and his wrestling knowledge real quick because there are fantastic names on this list. Now, I told you, 16 through 30, you're probably not going to know because, shoot, I barely know half of these guys, but I'll run down it real quick. Number 30, and this is ESPN's top 30 list under the age of 30. That is the big thing. The cutoff, obviously, being at 30, which means people like Tony Storm, Dragon Lee, Logan Paul, Chris Statlander, all of these fantastic wrestlers will not be on this list because they are over the age of 30 or 30 years old themselves. At number 30, you have Atlantis Jr. from CMLL. 29 was Shota Umono. 28, Kalani Jordan from NXT. 27, Axiom. If you've watched WWE, you know the Spanish star. 26, Kevin Knight. 25, Starlight Kid. 24, Megan Bain from AEW. 23, Taz's son Hook made the list. That's fantastic. 22 would be Jack Perry from AEW. 21, Daniel Garcia. 20, Jordan Grace, now WWE star. 19 was Sol Ruka, another WWE star. 18, Mascara Dorada 2.0. 17 would be Saya Kamitana from New Japan Pro Wrestling. 16, Saray from New Japan as well. From 15 on, though, I am going to quiz you here, my friends, because we have about 4 or 5 minutes. Number 15 is one you know very well. We've talked about her on this show many a time, both good and bad, and has had a long-running feud with the man.
Really?
Mm-hmm. She made the list.
I have no clue.
Lyra Valkyria.
I had
number
Lyra.
15.
I didn't think that.
That's fantastic. Gabe Kidd, New Japan Pro Wrestling was 14. You don't know who that is, so I won't ask you about that one. 13 is another New Japan one as well. 12, technically you do know, but I don't know if you're going to get this one. It's a AAA champion in his own right. He's the biggest star they have. Doesn't wear a mask.
Doesn't wear a mask?
Does not wear a mask. He has a feud currently with Dragon Lee going.
I have no clue.
El Hijo del Vikingo. He's the number 1 star down there in AAA. Number 11 is a guy you've talked about on this show a couple times, especially since he's been in the Last Time Is Now championship tournament, my friend. So who would that be from the NXT roster?
NXT. Oh, dude, I don't know his name.
But you know who he's talking about. The bouncy one. That'd be Mr. Javon Evans, who has been a huge uprising star, was unranked last year. Number 10 would be his teammate and tag right now from TNA. That's Leon Slater, another guy who's really had a massive surgence, but I won't expect you to know that one. Number 9, we talked about this woman on the show today, as she is now part of a fantastic tag team.
Tag team.
Rhea. So close, but it's Roxanne. Roxanne is number 9. Real quick, since we don't have time to quiz you on the rest. Number 8 was Oba Femi from NXT. Number 9, Blake Monroe, formerly of AEW, now in WWE. 6 is Braun Breaker. 5, Tiffany Stratton. Nice. Number 4, MJF, my favorite AEW star. Number 3 will be Mommy, obviously Rhea Ripley. Mommy. Number 2, Kyle Fletcher from AEW. And number 1, back-to-back years, and he's still got 2 more years on this list, or at least 1 if they cut it off at 30, will be Mr. Dirty Dom himself, Dominic Mysterio, the best wrestler under the age of 30.
And the best Mysterio.
100%.
Ever.
He's the greatest Mysterio of all time. He's not the only one saying it. SportsCenter says it too. Let's get out of here, my friend. We got to get out of the way for the great Rich Eisen. Join us back here tomorrow, 7 to 9 as always. But until then, Sparky, Let's get out of here.